everybody, it's Catherine from Jayne Catherine on Books, and I'm here today with one of my duos. And I don't think I've done many this year. It's been one of those funny years, hasn't it, where everybody's reading has gone a bit skew-whiff, and we're not sort of reading all the normal things we would do, and I don't think many opportunities have come along. And I said come across then. Come along for me to link them together to do a duo. So new people that are here, so thank you for joining. I read 2 books and talk about 2 books that have got a link in some way, so either the subject matter or the word in the title, that sort of thing. So I think I did one that the link was heart, and I did 2 different books that featured somebody, I think, that was having heart surgery, you know, that sort of link. So today, seeing as it's non-fiction November, I thought that I would do a non-fiction link, and the link word is quilts, or you could also call it sleep, because sleep and, you know, quilts are usually traditionally to keep us warm when we go to bed. So I've got a couple of books here then on that subject. The first one is Textiles Transformed, and this is by Mandy Pattullo, and Thread and Thrift with Reclaimed Textiles. Now, she does work professionally as a textile artist, and she is quite well known for repurposing old quilts, so going around all the old charity shops and the antique shops, things like that, and buying old quilts, and then she cuts them up and uses them in her work, and I love that sort of thing. It's something that I do in my own textile work. I always like to put something recycled in it if I can. This, I mean, I just love the salmon end papers. I mean, you know, they're plain, but they're a lovely colour. It's a lovely book for, I think it's more of a coffee table book for you to browse through and get some ideas, rather than a really detailed textile book. If you are, say, somebody that's quite advanced in working with stitch and textiles, or say done courses or whatever, I think that it may be a little bit basic. Now, for me, yes, I've done quite a lot of work with textiles and things, so I'm seeing it as just a lovely coffee table book to browse through, and to see the sort of work that she does. But also, I think you get inspiration, don't you, from whatever you look at. So there is, I never say that there's not inspiration there, no matter how much work you've done with textiles and stitch and creating. But it's so lovely in the photography and images that are used in here, that's why I think it would be lovely to put on your coffee table. So, like, these are some of her quilts where she's put extra stitch into them. We're not very lucky. I don't find things like that very often. I don't know if it's a UK thing or the North. Even stuff, ephemera, for when I'm making my junk journals and that, it's very difficult to find stuff here. Might be better down south. And again here, she's taken snippets of old quilt and using them up in different ways. So I'm all for recycling. She's written a few books, I believe, and I think it's just nice to see what other artists produce. I mean, this is what I like. She's got an old Indian camphor quilt there, and she's just done some slow stitch all along, straight stitch all along, and it gives it a totally different feel. So this is one that David bought me, because we'd seen it on a couple of YouTube channels. It's got a lovely, and this is to say, it doesn't want to be shoved away in a bookshelf. It's got a lovely velvety feel. It's a bit like brushed cotton, the cover. So that's that one. So the other one that represents the duo of sleep or quilts is this, and this is a lovely non-fiction book by none other than Tracy Chevalier. Now I'm sure everybody knows of Tracy Chevalier. She's quite renowned, well, she's very renowned really, in the fiction works that she writes. And this is a look at a project she got involved in with a charity called Fine Cell Work. So this is the Sweet Sleep Quilt by Tracy Chevalier and Fine Cell Work. Now, Fine Cell Work is a charity, and I've not heard of this before. I read in an article in the newspaper that Tracy had written this book, The Sleep Quilt, and obviously because of me loving textiles and quilting and everything, I was fascinated by it. And it's really interesting. It's a really good, I've not read all of it yet, but it's a really good book looking at the work of this charity. And how Tracy got involved in it is that when she was writing one of her books, The Last Runaway, which I haven't read, and I'll link it down below because I want to look into it, she did a lot of research that stumbled across loads of things to do with quilts, and that's how it got her interested in quilting. She'd never done quilting before, but that got her interested in it. And she was invited then to curate an exhibition in London of different quilts, and that's how she got introduced to people that ran the Fine Cell Work. And basically it's teaching prisoners, men and women, to sew and embroider. And this particular project was asking them to do a piece that then would be all joined together to make this big quilt, this big sleep quilt. And I also didn't realise that subsequently many prisoners are involved in doing embroidery and stitching on garments. As a commercial venue, the prisons do it as a commercial venue for for clothing retailers and all sorts of things like that. And there's information in here as well, I believe, about how it has actually helped with the rehabilitation of some of these prisoners to be involved in learning how to sew and embroider, but also to be able to put their feelings into these pieces of work that was added to the quilt. And as you're going through it, obviously she explains more about this charity. It might not be, some of it's quite small, so let's see if you can see it on camera. See, there's another one here. They're really interesting. Oh, look at this one. And then in the back, there are quotes from various people. Author of The Subversive Stitch, Rosiska Parker, has written, "Now I am interested in reading more about the profile of those who end up in prison, and I realise in different circumstances it could have been me. I definitely think that everyone should get a second chance, and I think Fine Cell Work can offer them that." And then Andy from Her Majesty's Prison Wandsworth, "I enjoy the work as it gives me something to do, as I am disabled as unfit from work, and so I'm locked up for 16.5 hours a day." So the Tracy from Her Majesty's Prison Style, "I've made £74 which I've been putting into a savings account so that I can send it out to my children for their birthdays and Christmas." So it gives them a bit of self-respect and self-esteem, I think, as well. And I think it's a fabulous charity. And how lovely that all these fantastic pieces that from prisoners that have never sewn before, you know, it's given them a chance for their creativity to shine. So I highly recommend this. I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, it's something a bit different from Tracy. I always say Chevalier, but because that's the French, but it may be Chevalier. Chevalier, Chevalier, I don't know. You know what I mean. Anyway, that's it then, guys. The two. Textiles Transformed, Mandy Pattullo, and the Sleep Quilt by Tracy Chevalier. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next video. Bye for now.